Hey loves, I hope that you are having a great day. I wanted to talk a little bit today about emotional intimacy. This is something that has come up a lot in talking with some of my clients about being in relationships where things seem great at first. The person's funny, the person's engaging, they have a lot in common, but then once the talk of like commitment comes up, things start to fizzle in the relationship. And a lot of times, the reason why this happens is because the person that you were dealing with is emotionally unavailable. And oftentimes, when you attract a bunch of people who are emotionally unavailable, it's a sign that you yourself are also emotionally unavailable. So, I'm going to talk about some signs of being emotionally unavailable, and hopefully this will help you recognize, when someone is emotionally unavailable, whether that is you recognizing that in yourself and something that you may want to seek a therapist or a coach for help with learning how to become more available, or if you are spotting this in someone that you are dating. So, again, here are some signs that you may be emotionally unavailable, or that you are talking to someone who is emotionally unavailable. So, the first sign is a lack of consistent communication. Consistency is a major key in a long term relationship. Consistent communication, consistent action, following through with the things that you say that you're going to do. So, if someone, especially towards the beginning of a relationship, cannot consistently communicate, so they can't talk to you on the phone daily or text you daily, you never know when you're going to hear from them. That is a sign that they're probably not ready to really be in a committed relationship. Again, especially if this is towards the beginning of the relationship, it's probably not going to get any better. The other sign that someone is emotionally unavailable is that they start off looking for flaws. So, check how they talk about other people. If you're dealing with someone who is always negative towards other people, always finding fault with them, always complaining about other people, and then they also start doing that with you as well. It may start off as being jokes, but the jokes are also insults as well. If someone starts looking for flaws in the beginning, looking for reasons why a relationship isn't going to work, and the thing is if you're looking for a reason for a relationship not to work, you'll find it. So when someone is constantly doing that and they're doing it early on, they're really just creating an easy out for themselves, making it easier to leave the relationship and to justify leaving the relationship. I can say this as someone who myself used to have this issue when I was dating but not truly ready for a relationship. I would go into dates and into having conversations with guys looking for things that were wrong, and then I go to my friends and be like, see, like this whole dating thing is not gonna work because I didn't like the way he pronounced this word and things like that. So look out for someone who is constantly looking for flaws and reasons to find fault. Another thing that is a sign that someone is emotionally unavailable is that they avoid difficult conversations at all costs. And I get that when you are first in a relationship and you're just getting to know someone, that you don't want to put all your cards out on the table at the beginning. And I also get that meeting someone is fun and exciting, and the thought of going too deep and possibly killing the mood and ruining things, like, yeah, that is a real threat. At the same time, if someone just avoids deep, difficult conversations like the plague, like, we're in the midst of a pandemic right now. If someone um, doesn't want to talk about anything beyond just like the surface thing they saw an article on the news, and they don't want to talk about, for example, how they've been feeling through this or how they've dealt with loneliness or isolation, it's a sign that they're not ready to be in a deeply committed relationship. One second, this light is bothering me. So, again, if someone avoids difficult conversations, it's a sign that they're not ready for the difficulties and the realities of being in a relationship. A fourth sign that someone is emotionally unavailable is that they have a hard time trusting others. We all have our things, and no one is perfect, and no one has a perfect background. So, of course, if you are dating someone and getting to know them, there are probably some things in their life that have made it difficult to trust someone. They've been hurt in a romantic relationship. Their parents weren't the best. Maybe they had a friend who let them down or betrayed them, just as you have those things yourself. However, it may not be our fault for why we have trust issues, but it's always our responsibility. So, yes, someone may have hurt them in the past. Someone may be currently hurting them in a friendship or family relationship that they're in right now. But it is always your responsibility to learn how to forgive other people, how to find closure in those relationships, and how to learn how to move forward. And part of that moving forward is learning how to trust again. So if a person is in a position where they are unable to trust anyone because someone or more than one someone hurt them in the past, they haven't healed from those past relationships. And because they haven't healed from those past relationships, he or she is not ready to be in a current relationship with anyone. So if you yourself are in a position where you can't trust, or you are dating someone who says, I have a hard time trusting because so and so hurt me this many years ago, then they are, or you are, emotionally unavailable. There's no relationship without trust. There's no way you can have a healthy relationship without that. So, another thing, and this kind of goes along with an inability to trust, is an inability to be vulnerable. So, vulnerability is a major part of being in particularly a romantic relationship. Because when you are in a romantic relationship, you start off with the warm, fuzzy feelings and the butterflies and everything, all the things that you see in those romantic comedies. And that is great. But that type of giddy, head over heels in love feeling is going to wear off over time. So once the relationship starts to get more serious and gets more committed, the thing that sustains a relationship is having a deep connection with a person. Again, having trust in that person, knowing that that person has your back, knowing that that person keeps their word, and also knowing that that person guards your heart, your feelings, and yes, your secrets and insecurities as well. So if you are unable to be vulnerable with someone, you will never know whether or not they are capable of taking the things that you say and keeping them in confidence, or taking the insecurities that you express and keeping those in consideration. You will never know if this is a person who can listen to your problems and to your issues and be caring and kind and compassionate towards the things that you are going through. You can't find out if someone can be trusted with your vulnerability unless you are first vulnerable with that person. So, again, this inability to be vulnerable is a sign that a person is not emotionally available. And then I have two more signs, and they both kind of feed into the trusting and the vulnerability. So another sign is when someone has difficulty expressing their feelings. And particularly when I say difficulty expressing their feelings, I'm talking about the so-called negative feelings. I don't think there's any such thing as a negative feeling. All feelings are meant to give us feedback. meant to invite us into deeper conversations with ourselves and figuring out why we are feeling this way. But when I'm talking about the so called negative feelings, I'm talking about frustration, sadness, depression, anger, those things that we don't like to talk about. So when someone has a hard time expressing any feeling of theirs other than happy or content or excited, um, this is a sign that they are not emotionally available because, again, we're talking about emotional availability. It's about being available to all of your emotions and all of your partner's emotions as well. When a person feels like they can't truly express themselves, express their emotions, and be vulnerable, it is because they don't trust their partner's ability to handle that. And if you don't trust your partner's ability to handle you and all of your emotions, then that relationship is not going to last very long. So, again, you want someone who is comfortable expressing their feelings and also someone who has emotional intelligence. So, someone who can perceive when you are not feeling, 100% at your best. Someone who has no problem talking out both their feelings with you and your feelings with you. And someone who also is really good at expressing how they're feeling and helping you to understand how they're feeling when there's a problem in the relationship. A lot of that starts with just having the vocabulary for your emotions. So, knowing the difference between happy and content, for example, understanding the differences between angry and irritated and irked, and how those are different and how there are different levels to being angry and happy and sad, and being able to communicate to a partner, this is something serious and this is something we really need to address, or this is something that's bothering me right now, or you're saying something that's triggering me right now, and I just need like 15-20 minutes to be by myself and to process that. So you want someone who is able to express their feelings, who is comfortable with expressing their feelings, and someone who can express their feelings in a way that is easy for you to understand. Now, the last sign that someone is emotionally unavailable is that they have problems with emotional intimacy. And again, this goes into having difficulty expressing their feelings and having difficulty being vulnerable. But one thing that I have seen sometimes in relationships that is not healthy is that you'll have a person who is comfortable talking about, in general, they feel upset or they feel sad or they feel angry, but they have problems with going deeper than that. So, I mentioned earlier having difficult conversations and how some people aren't aren't very good at having difficult conversations because maybe they grew up in a home where that didn't happen, where you're supposed to be positive over everything. And also, I've noticed, since the pandemic especially, that toxic positivity has taken over, right? And that people are trying so hard to prove all the time that they're happy, to the point where, they're kidding themselves and they're trying to fool others too by constantly talking about being happy and acting like, they've never had a bad day in their life, or to have a bad day, or to have doubt in yourself or in systems or anything. It's like sacrilege. Like, you're not allowed to do that. So when someone has issues with emotional intimacy, what I mean by this is that one way or the other, they have issues with being deep. So either they don't want to see you cry ever, they don't want to see you have a bad day, they can't handle it to see you be anything but happy, and they don't want to deal with those things. They don't want to have conversations about why you may be unhappy, especially if it has anything to do with relationship. And oftentimes they'll assume that if you're unhappy, it has to be about the relationship and it couldn't possibly be for any other reason. Or they have no problem talking about your feelings and about your emotions. They have no problem seeing you be upset, and they'll do everything they can to make you feel better, to cheer you up, to comfort you, or to just be there while you sit in your feelings and be sad. But they don't allow the other way around. They can't allow you to be the person who comforts them. They always want to put on a show of always being happy, always being positive, always having everything together. And they think that you seeing them in any other state is a sign of weakness. Um, Especially when that is the case, when there's a bit of hypocrisy and they don't have a problem with comforting you and your feelings, and they'll tell you that you're strong and you're brave, but they have a problem with them being the ones who need comfort and thinking that they're weak because of it. That is usually typically something in childhood that, again, they grew up in a family where that type of intimacy, that type of, really expressing your feelings was looked down upon. And it means that they're not really going to be available to being in a healthy relationship. Again, healthy, long term committed relationships are based upon trust, they're based upon vulnerability, and they're based upon partnership. And part of that partnership is being in a space in which you can freely express your feelings with your partner and they can do the same thing with you. So, again, these are the signs that someone is emotionally unavailable, and just go through these and see if they fit you or if they fit someone that you're talking to. They are lacking consistent communication, someone who constantly looks for flaws and looks for problems in a person or a relationship, someone who avoids difficult conversations, someone who has a hard time trusting other people, someone who's not comfortable with being vulnerable, someone who is not comfortable with expressing their feelings, and someone who lacks emotional intimacy. So let me know if you have more questions about what it means to be emotionally unavailable, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.